Alright, so I found out that the current record and overall strategy for the Yellow Turban Rebellion speedrun in Dynasty Warrior 6 was only possible using a modded save file. The only reason that nobody else knew this was because the two people who knew the strategy kept it to themselves. They didn't disclose how they were pulling off the jump, and there also wasn't a check on what horses were being used before speedruns were being pulled off. And so this also has some implications for like the rules, and I also want to talk about that at the end of the video. But the second jump on this map turns out to be a lot more complicated than I ever could have thought it was. After I obtained a red hair that had 500 jump on it, I attempted the jump exactly like the record holders did. However, I couldn't make it. Or I should say record holder, but there is two people who pulled this off. And also another player who attempted this run about 5 years ago expressed confusion, as they also had no idea how this jump was being pulled off. And they showed their horse before their run, best possible horse you can get in the game. So clearly there's something missing that he had no idea what to do, I had no idea what to do also, until I really started to dig in and try to figure out what was going on. And so eventually I figured out this was only possible using a modded horse, and the details of that is like super long, and so I'm not going to really discuss that right now. As the main purpose for this is just to show definitive proof that these players are using modded horses, and I also want to talk about the rule implications, but I did talk about it in the thread that I posted. I talked about how I kind of figured it out, which was just super long, so I'm going to be avoiding that for now. So this jump requires two things, being that, you know, your horse has a 500 jump obviously, and it also has the winged hoof ability, and it's not really talked about anywhere, but the winged hoof ability actually increases your jump height. And so, like, everywhere that you look online, everybody talks about how the wing hoof, I believe it does damage after you jump, and so that's what everybody talks about being the king skill for that, for the Dapple King. But it actually increases your jump height as well, which I would have been able to figure out a lot easier if I actually knew that. But Dapple King isn't used for speedrunning. I don't use my Dapple King all the time. I use my red hair, obviously. I have like 4 of them, so it took me forever to figure that out. But yeah, it does increase your jump height, so you need both of those. And so I'm going to show you right here a video of my 500 jump Dapple King, and this horse clears the jump with no issue. And at the end of this clip here, you can also see the horse stats, and I'm going to be doing that for every single one of the clips that I show you, just so that it's definitive that this is actually what is going on. And so the second clip here is my red hair that I have that has 500 jump on it. And as you can see, it just doesn't make the jump. It comes close, but it comes nowhere near where the record holder was getting it. The record holder was clearing the jump with no issue at all, not even like barely making it, like they were going way over the wall. And keep in mind, only the Dapple King can unlock the wing hoof. So like each color horse has their own ability. The red hair has the wind spirit, making him faster, and then the Dapple King has the winged hoof. So like the idea is that you mod both of these king horse abilities onto one horse, and it becomes like the best possible horse you can get for speedrunning. But obviously this isn't normally obtainable because you can only get one king horse skill on each type of horse because it depends on the code, if that makes sense. And so now let's take a look at the record-breaking speedrun that achieved 31 seconds, and watch how he clears the jump using his red hair mount. And this was the clip that confused me for months because I didn't have a 500 jump red hair. I thought he did, and that was sort of the idea that was what I was missing. I didn't have the right type of horse. But after obtaining the 500 jump red hair, you could easily tell this guy was using something was off. And so I'm going to show you next my hacked save file that I have on the PC version of the game, which I put winged hoof onto my red hair mount. And as you can see, I clear the jump exactly like the record holder did. And yeah, I think this is pretty much definitive proof. And so now that we know these people are using modded horses, I also wanted to talk about the rule changes because it kind of calls for something to be done in terms of moderation. And so what I was imagining is that either these runs are put into just a separate category, which is meant for like modded versions of the game. I noticed with like certain maps, I'm not sure which moderator did it, but they added like Zhu Chang, for example, depending on which route you take, they have different categories. So I was thinking maybe a different category, or you could just exclude them from the leaderboards entirely because, you know, you can't normally obtain that. And I also noticed in the Warriors community, it can be a little bit discouraging to new players because of how long it takes to play through the game just to get the opportunity to like speedrun some of these records. And so the editor on the hacked version of the game makes it very easy for people to avoid that excess time and just start speedrunning from the get-go. And so the issue is that some of these things in the editor are also not normally obtainable. And so I kind of want to go through these one by one and kind of explain my thought process on them. And so the first thing you can do is max out your character above level 50, which basically maxes out the character's stats, similar to like Lu Bu. Like when you look at Lu Bu's stat chart, he has 1,000 for every single stat that he has, like attack, defense. He has 1,000 for all of that. No other character in the game has that, but you can break a character above level 50 and get him to basically Lu Bu stats. And this is very easy to moderate as well. You can check if a player is doing this, because when they go to select their horse, obviously it shows their level on the right side of the screen. So that's easily, that can be easily moderated. And so I don't think that'll necessarily be a problem in the future. And so the other thing that you can do is also obtain 100 damage, standard, and skill weapons, which aren't normally possible. You can only go up to 96 on standard and 92 for skill. And so I don't even think this really matters that much, because the effects are extremely small. At the end of the day, you're still going to have a 100 damage power weapon, which is ultimately going to do more damage, and it's still going to be the best way to speedrun. So it's not like that's really an issue either. And so the last thing that you can do is make what the whole video is about, is the impossible horses. And so they're pretty much just putting king skills together. That's the only thing that you can really do to break horses. If you try to put anything above a value of 500 on a horse, you can put a value of 1,000 speed on a horse, which is something that I kind of theorized when I was thinking about this editor before. However, it seems like the game caps the actual output of the horse at 500 speed. So even if you have 1,000, the game won't let you go that fast. You're still going to be capped at 500 speed pretty much, even though it says 1,000. And the reason why I mention each of these is because I think the modded versions of the game could be easily regulated and allowed under normal circumstances. The one game-changing feature it really has, or two I should say, is the horse skills, which aren't normally possible, and the characters, maxing out a character above level 50. But both of those can be easily moderated. When a player goes into a run, he has to select his horse because it never saves. And so as a moderator, you can just easily watch that, and before the mission starts, it's not inconvenient to anybody. So, and it's like an extra second of time basically. So I don't really think it's an issue. And I also think oldies and other players shouldn't have his runs removed, because it's clearly obvious he used an editor. I saw in one of his runs he had a 1,000 speed horse. Now it caps the output like I previously discovered, and I also beat a lot of his runs, so clearly the horse is not at a 1,000 speed even though it says it, and I just don't think those runs should be removed. It's on the same level playing field between the legit and modded versions of the game. And I also think there's a point to be made where it's actually encouraging to new players who want to maybe pick up and start speedrunning this game, because they don't have to grind for hundreds and hundreds of hours like I did to try to get a red hair. They can just pick it up and have a red hair speedrun. And I think that's a lot better for the health of this game in terms of speedrunning in general. And yeah, that's pretty much it.